A major pricing milestone has just been hit by XRP. In this video, I'm going to go over what some of the trend lines are suggesting the price of XRP could be doing regardless of anything else happening in the market. Regardless of what's happening with Bitcoin, regardless of what is happening in the Ripple case. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what trend line that price just hit, why it's so significant, what happened to that trend line all the way back in 2020. And for XRP, it's definitely one of the more interesting numbers to watch. Also, I'm going to be talking about what James Filan and what Jeremy Hogan both have been saying about what Judge Torres is doing with trying to move up and speed up the timeline for this Ripple case. As of a couple of days ago, Judge Torres moved up some of the deadlines from later in December to actually a mid-November. Well, James Filan, who's been extremely accurate about certain things in this case, mainly timelines, why he thinks it's not necessarily going to be this year that the case ends, because the judge is simply doing it because of a couple of lists that she needs to stay off of. It's a very interesting one. And in other crypto news, I wanted to talk about ApeCoin once again because in my previous video, I stated how it was actually exploding, had gone from about $18 to $25 in a matter of a day because of some big news that was going on with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Well, it's since tanked. It is trading now for about $14.50. And some of the speculation why, well, just some of the craziness that's going on with the huge NFT virtual land mint that they just did. I'm going to tell you about it in this video, what happened to the price, why the price of ApeCoin could be tanking, and what the developer of ApeCoin said about it. And I think some of it has to do with the ridiculous gas fees. You're not going to want to miss these numbers. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, but also other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, join the Late Night Grind community. Also, if you do three things, I'd greatly appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button, watch the video all the way to the end, and of course, check out my Patreon, link in the description below. All right, guys, let's jump into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was that ApeCoin story, because the Bored Ape Yacht Club just put together one of the largest NFT mints ever. In fact, by a mile. Yesterday, they launched an NFT mint known as The Other Side, which is basically a piece of virtual land in which you could buy other pieces of virtual land, essentially NFTs, in a virtual world in the metaverse, owned by Bored Ape Yacht Club. Well, it turned out to be a huge success, at least for some people. They turned around and flipped 55,000 pieces of virtual land, and they sold them for a minimum of 305 ApeCoins, which as of yesterday when they were doing this was about $6,000 a piece. Not only that, you had to pay for the Ethereum gas fees since this is actually happening on the Ethereum blockchain network. So they shattered all records, raising about $317 million and selling out all of these pieces of virtual land in a matter of hours. However, some were displeased with how things went. Specifically, one user on Twitter who commented that he spent $1,600 in Ethereum gas fees just to mint this piece of virtual land, and it didn't even work. He wasted $1,600 in fees and still didn't even end up with a piece of this virtual land. Now, that's not the only one. I actually saw several complaints of the same thing happening. And on top of that, even the ones that did buy virtual land, well, they had a right to complain too. $1,600 in gas fees just to mint an NFT is absolutely ridiculous. And some people think this is why Yuga Labs, who is actually the developer of ApeCoin, has said, listen, there's definitely some issues going on, and in their opinion thinks that ApeCoin should actually move to a different blockchain network. Now, at this point, it seems like that would be crazy, but they do have a point. Ethereum's gas fees are really astronomical, and it doesn't seem like they're slowing down at any time soon. In fact, they're growing at the largest pace they've ever grown at. Some people think it's because of the upcoming changeover to Ethereum 2.0 from their proof of work to their proof of stake, in which miners won't get to mine Ethereum anymore. But who really knows? It's definitely one to keep an eye on. All right, so now let's jump into the Ripple case because there's some interesting things happening. According to James Filan, what Judge Torres just did isn't necessarily going to speed up the case, because James thinks that there is a list, that Judge Torres is simply doing this because she wants to stay off of that list. So if you remember a few days ago, if you've been watching some of my videos, Judge Torres moved up some of the deadlines in this case from December to November. Jeremy Hogan, who is an outside attorney covering this case, said, well, it looks like Judge Torres is interested in wrapping up this case before the end of the year. Well, James Filan had to come in over the top and say, in my opinion, it simply doesn't look like that. Because according to him, he's done some studies on Judge Torres and some of the cases that she's been involved in. In the legal world, there are some things that most people don't know about. One of which, in the world of judges, is apparently some list called the 6-month list, which is published twice a year. And if you have a case that's been going on or is awaiting decision for more than 6 months, among some other legal issues, well, it doesn't look good, and most judges want to stay off of this list. And this is what James is pointing to, and he's saying, this could just be her wanting to push things up a little bit so that she can keep her name off of that 6-month list. It's an interesting theory, and it may have some merit, but there's a lot of other people that are stating not so fast. It could be the fact that she really does want to speed up this case because of the magnitude of the public interest in the case. And of course, since we have some mega fighting going on over the Bill Hinman emails that could potentially be resolved before those dates even show up, well, it might be a moot point to argue either side anyway. But stay tuned for my next video, in which I'm going to be covering some of the newest motions that the SEC and Ripple just filed, because it could be the most interesting ones yet. It is covering, yet again, the Hinman emails. And let's put it this way, that is by far the most important thing that this case is revolving around. Not whether or not XRP is a security or not. Go figure. I wonder if the SEC is trying to hide something. All right, so now let's talk about the pricing action of XRP that just happened the other day. Well, it tanked along with a bunch of other altcoins. That's not great news, but you know, it's kind of been following what Bitcoin's been doing. Not that Bitcoin tanked, but it had a little bit of a pullback, and it hasn't exactly been skyrocketing lately. So XRP followed suit, and when Bitcoin had a little bit of a pullback, XRP had a little bit of a pullback, but then had a major wick down and hit 56.5 cents. Now, specifically, that price is in and of itself important. However, when we look on a chart, we can see that this absolutely bounced off of the support level that's been in the works for nearly 2 years. So when we look at the support level on the chart, we can see a couple of things. Number one, it showed up in November of 2020. Now, right after that, in December of 2020, is when the SEC dropped this lawsuit on Ripple. So for a couple of months before that and a couple of months after that, that trend line represented resistance. Anytime the price hit that, it would actually retrace. Well, March 16th in 2021, it flipped it. It finally flipped that trend line and then turned it into support. Since March 16th, 2021, it has hit that support line 6 different times. All 6 times it has acted as support. All 6 times it has bounced and made a significant price move upwards. There's a lot of people showing some of the other charts, showing some fractals that show XRP going to $30, $40, $50, $300 any moment now. And while I'm not exactly going to buy in on some of those charts, this one has been proven time and time again. Well, it just hit this support line again, and of course right now it's in the middle of moving upwards. In fact, it's already bounced up about 5 or 6 cents since then. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, because historically, anytime it has hit that support, which is an upward trend support, by the way, it's meant good things for XRP. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.